Mhm. No.
Works this time. Welcome along to PSGLF3. We are here for what is the ninth round of the championship, and it should be an exciting one. We head to the Hungary ring here in Hungary, just off, or just in Budapest, I should say. It should be an exciting race. Joining alongside me for this evening's action is Brendan. How are you doing?
I'm good. We had a slight mishap, but we're here again, and I'm sure we should be in for a good race here. We're around what I would believe is a round 9 here, honestly. And the championship battle will be heating up a bit. Obviously, Keke took a second win last week, and then Andy followed with a P2 after missing the previous two races. So I'm sure them two will be hungry for a good result tonight, and could make all the difference here in this championship. It could fall right into Keke's hands, or it might just slip back to Andy. Might guess himself a real foothold in this fight.
Yep, it should be a good race this evening. Let's take a look at your championship standings then. Before this evening's round, it is Tyne who leads the Drivers' Championship, but of course he's not racing in the F3 tier anymore. It is then Keke who is in second, and look, all but has this one in his back pocket, but he still does have to outscore Tyne and those who are not here for it to be mathematically completed. Dara then is in the third, followed by Mubarak in fourth, Andrew in fifth, followed by LRB in sixth position, and Damiano in seventh, Baki in eighth, and then Ghost Kings in ninth. Shizu Zane is in 10th. It's then Fede in 11th. It is then Ates in 12th, followed by Dirk, Hav, Benza, Marcus, Simon, Sanchez, Justbrand, and Jacob. That is your top 10. But a look at this evening's track then, as we do head to the Hungary. You can see the 14 corners, 6 to the left and 8 to the right, 4.381 kilometers, 2.722 miles. It should be a fairly interesting race here this evening, as qualifying is just about to get underway. Everything is just being sorted into the lobby, and we will head to the Hungary ring now. We can see 15 drivers here this evening. Royal Harvey already retiring, so I would assume a qualifying ban, but this should be an exciting qualifying here at what is sometimes described as the Monaco without walls.
Yeah, that is true. Hungary first race in 1986, I believe, where well, someone did win that opening race, passing Senna in the around turn 1. But yeah, Hungary is often seen as we nearly need the full Monaco setup, because after Sector 1, which does have two straights, I suppose, then after that, though, it's very much slight twisty. You see 2021 with Hamilton got caught behind Alonso. Probably part of that was the fact that you can't really pass in many places here in Hungary. You've got turn 1, turn 2, turn 4 if you're brave, and maybe turn 12.
Yeah, so qualifying is probably just as important as it is in Monte Carlo, and we're underway then for the 18 minutes of short qualifying, as the driver's heading out on track now. Keke looking to take his third win of the season, and that will put him in a very good position in the Drivers' Championship, as he would overtake Tyne this evening once he outscores him by 11 points. And obviously he will outscore him by a lot of points, as Tyne not racing in the F3 Championship anymore. Both him and Dara jumped ship just before last week in Mexico. But We're going to get the laps underway pretty shortly. It's going to be Shizou Simon who's the first man to get us underway. And Brendan, why don't you run us through one?
Sorry, I couldn't really hear you there for a second.
Okay. I was going to say, Brendan, do you want to run through Simon's lap?
Simon, yeah. I have you now. So Simon, coming down towards turn 1. It's important to get the braking here, right? And you step left, over towards the right. Make sure you don't get too much in the curb. No, almost lost there with turn 1. You see this little mini straight. I know the DRS and then turn 2. So you can definitely pull a move here if you have the track space. But then to turn 3, not too bad. But turn 4, you have to be very, very precise. Just take this whatever curve you feel you're comfortable with. 5 years in Alonso and Schumacher battle around this part of the track. Then you see turn 6, 7 is very much. You just need to be precise. Make sure you don't get too greedy with your braking. 8, 9, and then you come around towards 10 and then 11. And it's very much this high speed corners you are going to have to be ready for that. And then 12, just get the braking right. You can pull move there if you're lucky. And so far, so good for Simon. A little bit miss. Oh, and not so good.
Yeah, Simon goes round heading through turn number 13, but we're getting the first laps on the board now, and it will be the Aston, or it won't be the Aston Martin, he's actually finishing a lap. It's going to be Benza across the line first, get the first time on the board. That is a 1:15.606 for Benza. Shizou Simon obviously 7 seconds shy, not getting a proper lap in. Damiano heads into the pit lane. He's not going to bring his lap to completion. Keke entering in towards the middle sector. Hanryu is going to be finishing his lap in a moment. Jacob is just ahead of him on the road, but we'll stick here with the Alfa Romeo as he heads through the final corner of turn number 14. Very tricky traction zone at the best of times. Sebastian Vettel, of course, with an impressive save in there in the past as Hanryu goes to second position, but it's got to be Dark who goes on pole position for now in his AlphaTauri. The Ferrari of Shizou Zane across the line, and just look how close this top 4 are. What about the AlphaTauri of Jospran? He is just starting a lap as we head back down to our championship leader who flies it through the final corner. 1:15.5 to beat here in the banker runs. Here comes Keke across the line. He's going to slot into 5th position. Not the most impressive qualifying for him so far. LRB going to be next to cross the line, and across the line it's going to be a 1:16 flat for LRB. He just goes shy of Keke. It'll be the Red Bull then of Baki, who's just starting a run in the background. Jospran heading up through sector 1. He's gone purple in the first sector. 27-1 I believe it said. But that is a purple sector according to the game. Let's see what Jospran can do here across the chicane of 6 and 7. Bounces it over 1 and 2. And then using that little bit of concrete on the edge of the curb to just give that car extra grip. A very grippy surface, that little concrete there on the edge of the curbs. As you can see, there is an improvement there from Sipala, who just goes behind his teammate Keke. Very marginal between those two. Here comes the AlphaTauri though, heading in towards turn number 12. Then it's the long left of 13 and the long right of 14. Sweeping corners through here, not the fastest corners in the world, but certainly one that you just got to take your time on. Jospran accelerating out of that final corner and heading up towards the start-finish line. It'll be 7th position for the AlphaTauri. And we still are just waiting to see 3 laps go on the board. Baki has backed off on his, and then Damiano only on an out lap after messing up his first one, and we've not seen Ghost King to leave the box just yet.
Yep, and Ghost King might just be waiting a little bit. I might just check there just to make sure we haven't missed a any qualifying bands.
Well, Royal Harvey's probably won. Here comes Baki though, rounding the final corner. I believe he's going to start another lap here. So we're going to stay on board with the Red Bull, heading down towards turn number 1. Braking at the 100 meter board, I should say, and just rotating the car in. This is not a bad turn number 1 for Baki so far. Braking for the downhill left-hander. Utilising 4th gear through here. That's about the gear you want to get. And then short shifting up the gears, 5th and 6th. And utilising that curb on the outside. Baki just trying to get that purple sector. Very shy of it. And that's the lap, unfortunately. That's been invalidated. That will be the end of that one as Damiano gets on his way to start what is his second attempt at qualifying for this Hungarian Grand Prix.
Yeah, I just checked for Ghost King. I believe he did get penalty last time. His penalty points are up to 6, so we may well have something, but I suppose we will see. Well,
Yeah, we
actually,
will.
no, we have seen he's out of the pits now, so we,
We,
although that might be just for setup.
it may be just for setup, but we will see. Is Damiano in purple in the first sector? Let's see what his second sector is like. Oh, just wobbles over the curb, but keeps it valid. So he is going to continue on with this lap. The Mercedes. It's not. I wouldn't say it's going to be a pole position run for him, as there has been some mistakes along it, and he's going to dive into the pit lane and not complete this lap. Damiano could do getting a time on the board as Ghost Kings is out of the pit lane, as is our top three. Anryu invalidating his out lap. He's just going to get on his way now. Benza is on his way. As is this Dark? Is this an attempt of a lap, or is this just him going on? Well, no, this is just Dark starting a run. Benza 27-1 in that first sector. Let's see what he can do here in the middle part of the lap, entering in towards the tricky chicanes. Not a bad job so far.
Yep, not doing too badly. Them chicanes in Hungary, so important to get them right. You just can't really risk anything. And Anryu, purple sector 1, it seems, although that might be a little glitch. So keep an eye. So far, so good for Anryu. And I can imagine he'll be happy enough with how it is at the moment, being ahead of KK. That'll be the main goal. To just close in as much as you possibly can. And see, he is up. Another purple, so may well be kidding.
Benza goes on pole position here in Hungary, as Dark improving here in the middle sector. 0.089 for the Alpha Tauris. He heads in through the right-hander of turn number 12. There's a real wobble on the curb for the Alpha Tauri. He had to catch that one. That could have been a much bigger moment for him. Hanryu improves and is in third. Dark comes into the pit lane. Obviously was losing time, as there goes Jacob up to second position. Great run from the Mercedes. Alpha Tauri across the line next. That's Justbrand. Or apologies, that's Justbrand actually diving into the pit lane. Here comes LRB running the final couple of corners. A man on a good run of form. He goes across the line just to start his next attempt here in Hungary. The Aston Martin of Ghost Kings is going to complete a lap here, or is he going to pull into the pit lane? Nope, he's heading to complete a run, so Ghost Kings does not have a qualifying suspension. He heads through the final corner, turn 14. Bit of a wobble, and almost losing it. Almost losing the car. That won't be a competitive lap due to that. Almost making a big mistake there as Shizu Simon dives into the pit lane. He was 2.5 down, so that lap won't be completed. Benza as well, and is just heading into the pit lane. What about Denzo? What can Denzo do here? Currently 11th, as no, he's just caught up in a bit of traffic and waiting to go on his lap. Keke is also going to start to go on a lap. The champions-elect, I suppose you could almost say, as there's not really anyone close enough to him in this championship to cause him any trouble, but things could still go wrong heading into the final 3 rounds of the season.
Yeah, so okay. He's going to need to get this lap right, because was he 11 points behind time, just to make sure he could, if he gets second today, I mean, he'll take the championship lead, I'm sure, right. If it does win it, we'll have competed in the season for the full duration. So again, not doing too bad so far. He's done very nicely there to turn 6 and 7, but I'm getting very close to the braking boards on the exit of 7. So we're trying to see how much you have to be on the limit of Hungary. And well, it just shows how hungry they are to get the best position possible in the purple sector, so that may well be a glitch at this point. Okay, looking good. Oh, twitchy. Oh, and that's probably going to be a costly. However, sometimes in Hungary you can very much break the mistake, but actually, he's marginally failed to improve, so
there's no improvement there for KK. Also, Brendan, your TV audio is coming through your microphone, so if you could turn that down, that would be beautiful. As Blackie still looking to complete a lap here in this session. He heads in towards turn number 12, and the Red Bull has set that purple sector, but of course, as Brendan said, may well be a glitch at this point. Rounding in towards the final couple of corners, Blackie will have a proper lap on the board. if he doesn't make a mistake through here, which he doesn't, gets on the throttle nicely, and across the start-finish line back he goes onto the front row of the grid to make it a Red Bull 1-2. That is exceptionally close between Benza and Baki, and now it's a Mercedes 3-4, because there goes Damiano across the line, and he puts his Mercedes up to 4th position. Simon rounding the final corner to start his next run. Justbrand right behind him has invalidated his run, so he will not get that one completed, and the same applies to Benza, who is back out on track and ready to go, and Hungary for pole position. That was not intentional, but he is hungry for pole position, as I will make it intentional. Anryu, is he on a lap? No, he's invalidated. So the next man who is on a timed run, that is Shizu Zane, who was marginally down in Sector 1. What can he do here in Sector 2? Just about avoiding an invalidation. Of course, it's the white line that determines track limits here at the Hungary ring. You can just see there, Zane still not improving, but he has gained time compared to what he was down like in the first sector, as he's completely obliterated track limits at turn 12. Won't be improving there. Disappointing for him. What about the man currently on pole position? Very marginally down in the first sector. That's just how close things are between these two Red Bulls, as Benza heading in towards turn number 9 is the number I was looking for, through 10 and now in towards 11. Not invalidating there, and is purple. So Benza finding time with 4 minutes and 44 seconds to go here in qualifying for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Benza rotating the car in 4th gear, going to short shift just before he reaches the rev limiter, as now he's into the pit lane. So Benza not bringing what may have potentially been a pole lap to completion. He's pulled into the pit lane, as it's a Red Bull 1-2, Mercedes 3-4, AlphaTauri 5-6, as Justbrand goes on to the 5th position and onto the 3rd row of the grid. Anryu is down on his time, as the Alfa Romeo heading in towards the left-hander of turn 13. Let's see what he can do, as Noah also dives into the pit lane. So it seems like these guys almost doing practice laps at this point.
Yeah, it's just not much happy. Oh, and that's just run to the wall, so
There's an in-lap anyway, so he is okay.
yeah.
But still, that might be a harsh taste of reality for him.
Yep, nothing. Not quality run stand, it's just a car and probably a bit of a bruised ego, but you know, well, I suppose at least it hasn't cost you anything, so you can put, to get that out of your head, you should be okay. Well, let's say we're going to get a few cars out soon enough now, because some people probably would like to have the option to go again if they need to for any last run.
Well, Justbrand, the only man out on track at the minute. Everybody just getting their final preparations in here for the final run in qualifying.
Yep, and we've managed to get every single person in the pit lane.
Yes,
Although Anryu...
Oh, he's just made it. Oh, Justbrand's just made it in before Anryu comes out. That was close, but we did have every car in the pit lane for about 3 seconds here. Anryu has just come back out. Speaking of coming back out, the Anryu army came back out briefly with Luke cheering on Anryu in the stream chat. A big thanks to those of you who are still watching. There's not many, but a big thanks to those who are, as Anryu heading in towards the left-hander, just getting ready to start his qualifying, or his final qualifying lap of the day. The Alfa Romeo looking to seal pole position after he thought he had a win in Hungary. He didn't. That was taken away by a penalty count. And the Alfa Romeo just looking to try and seize this opportunity to get himself back into a good position in this championship battle. But heading in towards turn number 12, he just backs off now and trying to get that extra bit of temperature into those soft Pirellis. I'm going to utilise every little bit of track limits he can on this final run here in his bid to take pole position in the Hungary ring. The top 10 separated by 0.3 of a second here in Hungary, meaning this pole could really go to anyone. Here comes Anryu rounding the final corner, and the Alfa Romeo is off and on its way to take pole here in Budapest. Down towards turn number 1, going to be braking at about the 100-meter board and using one of many lines through this corner. This is a very diverse corner in terms of the racing lines you can use. A little bit of a squirrel on the exit, and Anryu does manage to keep it under control. Downhill for turn number 2, and then it's a very fast right-hander for turn number 3. But Anryu utilising all of that track as he heads up the hill, the Alfa Romeo roaring. Up here, he is narrowly improving in that first sector, but there's almost nothing in it, pretty much nothing in it, as rotating round the right-hander of turn number 5. It's then the tricky chicane, which you almost just want to bounce over. Anryu making that one look very, very smooth, as there is a car off and into the wall. That's a Williams that's picked up damage. That may be the championship leader. We'll have to get back and check that one, as here comes Anryu, heading in towards the right-hander of turn number 11. Turn 12, next approaching. Purple in the middle sector, 53.8 for the one-time winner this season. He won in Spain, almost won in Mexico. But of course that one was taken away due to a penalty removal for Keke. This has been a decent lap from Anryu, but is it enough? Good is not enough here in the Hungaroring. Rounding the final corner, the Alfa Romeo across the start-finish line. It's pole position for Anryu! That's an excellent final sector, which sees him take the front row of the grid and take the top position with 14 seconds to go here in qualifying. That's how close this truly is. Next across the line will be one of the McLarens. It's going to be LRB here. LRB rounding the final corner. What can the McLaren do here? It's only good enough for 8th position. The Mercedes of Jacob next across the line. He's gone on to second and onto the front row of the grid. It's another Mercedes that'll be next round the final corner. Damiano's improving as well here. Is this enough to maybe make it a Mercedes 1-3? That's the best they can get out of this one, as Jacob's not quite taken pole position. Here comes Damiano rounding the final corner, just easing on that throttle, smooth as you like. Can Damiano take pole here in Hungary? No, he's not found enough time. It'll be an Aston Martin across the line next. This will be Ghost Kings who rounds the final corner. Can he put a shock? No, he cannot. AlphaTauri next, Dark across the line. He can't quite take pole. Benza can though. That's pole position here. 1:15, 1:26. An excellent lap here in Hungary to potentially seal a pole position for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Keke's not got anything out of that lap. LRB is obviously done, and the last lap of the day is the best lap of the day. Benza is on pole position for the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Well, what a lap to get seal it. Pole position, he had it, and he had snatched it for himself. But to get it back there in the dying embers, I'd have to say Keke, only 10th, and you'd want to be maybe getting it up the grid, but that's difficult at Hungary. You need a good start, and maybe you set up that might be a little kinder to you in a straight line than others are.
Well, an excellent end to qualifying, a lot of improvements across the field, but it is Benza who takes pole position for the Hungarian Grand Prix with a time of 1:15, 1:26. That's 1.5 seconds quicker than the lap record here at the circuit in Formula 1, which does belong to Lewis Hamilton. We will see the full quali results in just a moment as the Red Bull rounds the final corner once again, but it is Benza who takes pole position here for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Anryu in second, followed by Jacob in third. Baki is in fourth position with Damiano in fifth, Dark taking sixth, Jusbrand in seventh, followed by Zane in eighth, LRB in ninth, Keke starts 10th, and Sipala 11th for Williams, Simon in 12th, Denzo 13th, Ghost Kings 14th, and Royal Harvey, of course, not getting a lap on the board. He will start 15th position, but an excellent end to qualifying here for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Should be an even better race, so make sure you do stick around, folks, and do not go anywhere, because we will be back after a short commercial break. Welcome back to Budapest, ladies and gentlemen. You can see the track that these drivers will be facing on your screen now. It is the 4.381 kilometre, 2.722 mile circuit here. 14 corners, 6 to the left and 8 to the right. 618 metres is what Anryu will try to end up in front of Benza at as that is the run from pole position to turn number 1, and about 50% of this lap is taken at full throttle. The first Grand Prix to be held here was in 1986. Nelson Piquet took the win with a famous overtake on Ayrton Senna's Lotus to seal the deal. Hungarian Grand Prix has the longest consistent run on the Formula 1 calendar, 37 seasons from 1986 to 2022, and of course we are going again in 2023. Brendan, as quick as you can, who wins the Hungarian Grand Prix?
I'll be honest, I'd say it's a shootout between Benza and Andrew here. Andrew would be more desperate though, so I think Benza, he can take a few more risks than maybe Andrew, who might think, I just need to get a good result, beat Keke. So I'd say Benza, this is his opportunity to shine.
Here we go. 3, 4, 5. Red lights. And we go racing here in Hungary. It's a very good launch from Anryu on the front row. He's up and alongside and already past the Red Bull. Heading in towards the first corner. The Alfa Romeo will lead us in towards turn number 1, but it's 4 wide here in the background. Look at Dirk trying to go up the inside of Baki. That could have got real close in towards turn number 1. Damiano trying to still take some positions from this as the Red Bull of Baki still up the inside. 3 wide at the apex. Look at this one from the Alfa Tauri around the outside. How has Dirk come out on top on this one? An excellent race start here in Hungary for the Alfa Tauri. The other Alfa Tauri, Jusbrand, trying to attack up the hill, heading in towards turn number 5 and in towards 6. What an excellent race start from both Alfa Tauris. Jusbrand not gaining any spots, but he's kept it all clean. Dark is up 2. It seems like Zane is the only man who has had a bit of an issue on the opening lap. He is down 7, and right down the back, Royal Harvey already up 4 and attacking his teammate of Denzo, heading in towards the middle sector. But Anryu leads here in Hungary. These tyre strategy you can now see on your left hand side. It is hard tyres from 1 to 7. It's then mediums for Keke, mediums for Ghost Kings and Zapala, and everybody else is on that hard tyre. But Anryu got an excellent launch and was up and through. Keke now side by side with Jusbrand and trying to make the most of these medium compounded tyres. He needs to start slicing through the field on these better tyres if he wants to get something out of this Hungarian Grand Prix. Anryu sets the fastest lap of the race, of course, as we've already completed the first lap of proceedings, 35 in total here in Budapest. There's Dark diving up the inside of Jacob. He's really locked up and gone late on the brakes, and the Mercedes gets the L switcheroo and gets the up and under completed and stays in 3rd position. A decent start from Jacob is what I was trying to say, but it came out as a random word. But Jacob still on the podium placings here. He'd love to take a podium this evening.
Yeah, I think it would be a result for him to get that podium. I mean, he's gave it end of season 4, mostly new game cycle means in a way that things can change, but even still, ending that season on a high might just be the confidence you need for before going into the next game, which will probably hear more about in the coming weeks. But for now, during this action, everyone's sticking close to each other. I mean, apart from Zane and Rob Simon, because Simon had to pit, and
here's Ghost Kings real late on the brakes. That's an excellent move from the Aston Martin. He gets the job done here on Royal Harvey. He's on the mediums, of course, and you'd expect him to be a little bit quicker than those hard tyres, but Harvey just about staying behind us. It honestly looks like we could get a shower of rain here. I'm not sure if my mind is tricking me and I've seen a few droplets, but it does look like that rain may come down. It's a very dull evening here in Budapest. It's certainly not one for having a barbecue and a nice cold ice cream, but it is looking like a fairly dull one as Sepala has gone round, heading through the first corner. The Williams already falling down the grid and down to 14th as, Anryu's made a mistake. Anryu's made a right mistake heading through turn number 4. Is the Red Bull behind going to pounce? No, not quite. That straight just not long enough for Benza to get up and alongside.
Yeah, as from Hungary, you feel like you're getting there, but that straight just ends maybe 200 metres before a little too early, because otherwise then you may well have been able to go for that move. But you see now how so close it is, and you can see it's just brightened up a little bit there. So I mean, our rain, we were thinking might have been for a second, isn't so likely now. So Benza doing a very good job to stick behind Anryu, and the key for him now will be, like, can Benza get a run here, or does he have like straight line speed in comparison to Anryu?
No,
Is he
he's got a
close?
good launch out of the final corner. He's the drag reduction system to help as we head in towards turn number 1. The Red Bull goes down the inside of the Alfa Romeo. The Alfa trying to make that corner as tight as possible for Benza. Benza's got the better traction though, and he's up and into the lead here, this Hungarian Grand Prix. Anriu sits behind, and Benza leads once again here in Hungary. That move was teed up by Benza. 1 lap ago here at this spot where Anriu made a mistake. Benza knew, I'm going to get him in towards turn number 1, and he has. He's got the job done, and Benza leads once again here in Hungary.
Yep, Benza, he struck back. I have to say, that move, it's a bit like when you are trying to close that door, or as trying to just open something without making a sound. It's pretty much him just getting alongside and gently getting himself in such a way that he could actually get a better exit, and he didn't have to go just dive it down the inside. So absolutely a very well executed overtake to make sure that he's able to gently put Andrea behind him, as opposed to just trying to dive up the inside and then barge past.
Yeah, it was a well executed move from Benza, who leads here in Hungary. Of course, he's not taken a win this season here in PSGL F3, and there's been 5 drivers to take a maiden victory in Formula 1 here at the Hungaroring. Those would be Damon Hill, Jenson Button, Fernando Alonso, Heikki Kovalainen and Esteban Ocon. If Benza wants to take a win here, he would join an illustrious list of maiden victors in Budapest, and he does lead by 0.8 of a second now. It seems to have a slight pace advantage over the man who got the run on him in towards turn 1. Race starts may not be his strong suit, as that Sepala gone round in the first sector once again. Disappointing for the Williams, a disappointing race for the Williams team so far, as Keke not making much inroads on this top 5, as he is just sat behind Baki, not able to do much about it though, but of course we know how difficult overtaking is here in Hungary.
Yeah, Hungary, it's like a mirage in a way where you think it's there, and then it's just, no, it just slips away from you. That's the Keke though, up to 6th. He's doing a good job here of getting up the order, and the next one on the list would have to be Baki. If he could just get back past him somehow, if he can get a run in the way Benza had done, which just maybe tucking up in the inside, and maybe, but see, it's just drifted past, and see, Baki's got DRS as well, so it's going to prove to be very, very difficult.
Keke not able to get close enough in towards the first corner here on lap number 6. The strategy for this one will be a fairly simple hard medium, as Keke still trying to get the job done. He's tucked up nicely, but not able to get the run through the corner. Thought maybe he'd force back into a bit of a mistake, but the Williams just holding on strong as they enter in towards turn number 4. That one is here in Hungary. They do one of my favourite things of all time. They don't count little kinks as corners, so that's turn 4 at the top of the hill, and this one being 6 and 7 at the chicane, and the Red Bull still holding strong here in 5th position, but Keke is just starting to look a little bit, maybe it's a bit of impatience, maybe it's just a bit of, right, now is the time to launch an attack, but we will have to wait and see, as the Williams not close enough here, but he may well have a go down the main straight, as looking good is Keke at this point for an overtake. He's certainly trying to force Baki into a mistake, but Baki's actually hold strong here. He's not done anything wrong.
Yeah, the thing is, Keke on the medium tyre, so maybe he does feel a little more urgency in what he has to do. And I have to watch his ERS here. He's on about 30%, so it's like he has some 2 guard, but Baki actually has a bit more. So Baki will be able to defend well, as that's actually Royal Harvey gone off at turn 1.
Yeah, that's the Alpine who's gone round. Unlucky one for Harvey. He's now in a battle with Sepala. No, he's actually just let Sepala through, so not really sure what's gone on between those two, but the Alpine pulls off to one side, and unfortunate there for him as Keke tucked into the slipstream of the Red Bull once again, but not able to dive like Fernando Alonso did once upon a time, or Alonso almost had the move done before that chicane on the great Michael Schumacher, but Keke just not able to get close enough to try a move, as Benza is gone off into the distance and leads this race by 1.8 seconds.
Yeah, looks like Benza's. They can be a little better start, but Benza's had better pace. So it's now worked out. He's now pulling away. But I think Andrew will be satisfied at the moment with what's going on. Because if, Keke can't maybe make further inroads, he may end up being caught out on the second stint when everyone else is fresh mediums while he's has to try to defend them more hards.
Statistically, this result would be good for Anryu, but here in the 8th lap, Anryu's starting to have a little bit of a train behind him, and he's not making any inroads on that gap. Benz has pulled out quite quickly. In fact, he's losing time by the corner at this point. So the Alfa Romeo's got to be careful, and if he still wants to have a chance in this championship, he needs to start winning races. And as of now, not doing so, letting Benza getting away here, and maybe hoping for something to happen later in the race. But Anryu here, having these cars behind him means if he makes one mistake, he's going to be swallowed up. So he has to drive a flawless race from this point to the end if he wants to keep second position. Denzo sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. He had an early pit stop. He pit 2 laps ago. He's on 2-lap old Pirelli mediums, and he's down in 15th position. No retirements from this Grand Prix so far. We hope it stays this way to the end as Harvey getting past Sepala, or I say that's due to a Sepala mistake, heading through turn number 8 and turn number 9. And honestly, it's been a shocking performance so far from Sepala.
Yeah, it's just not really went his way, has it?
No, there's been way too many mistakes and way too frequently, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Keke made a mistake or something. Like, actually, no, I think my timing talk's just a little messy. So, whatever. It is actually Benta. This is very, very good. Like usually these tiers in PSGL, you don't get that kind of race where one person just pulls away. But in this case, Benta is doing just that.
Yeah, he is. Usually you don't get a dominant performance. It's only once in a blue moon, as there's a yellow flag. That is Denzo. He's gone round through the final corner, and that might be the end of the road from him, as he's almost running the threat of going a lap down if he has to do one more extra pit stop. Then the rest of the field, Keke still not able to make any inroads on the Red Bull, as Brendan, you've disconnected. Not sure if you're aware of that one. As hopefully
I know exactly what to do here, and you just have to probably send. I have an invite, so it'll be okay.
Hopefully it is all resolved, as Keke still not able to get close enough in towards turn number 1, and I have a feeling this is what we might experience for the rest of this Grand Prix, as it seems like all these guys are so close on pace that nobody can really make any moves. As if you wonder what that loud bang was, it was just me dropping something. Don't worry, something hasn't happened in your house through your headphones. Set here on the 10th lap out of 35. Look, I'm hoping a strategy game comes into this one, otherwise this might be a little bit of a snooze fest here in Budapest. Budapest is usually a very interesting track when it rains, not as much when it dries here in league racing.
Yeah, it's on the common factor of PSGL where you're level on pace pretty much. So you can't really make any moves unless they actually make a mistake. And usually in that case, you're just not making a mistake because you're full. Because you can't do much else. You have to focus on being consistent rather than trying to just blitz past something.
First retirement of the Hungarian Grand Prix is Denzo, who retires in the pit lane. The Alpine, as you can see, just parked there, is done here in this Grand Prix. He will play no further part and has retired after not a great performance from his standards. Lap 11 out of 35, and Keke still not able to get close enough, which means this strategy is not working for Keke, and he's going to have a lot of work to do if he wants to make this work on the hard compound tyres as they head through turn number 3 and in towards turn number 4. We have 2 penalties so far in this race, and they belong to Justbrand and Sepala, who have 3 seconds respectively. Time penalties is something that can crop up here in Hungary, but if you play your cards right, they're quite easy to avoid.
Right, so we've turned off and turned back on the PlayStation. That worked the last time we had these kind of issues, so we can then see what happened.
Yeah, hopefully everything can be resolved from Brendan's end and we get him back in the session here. But Brendan, I will admit, you're not missing much. There was a yellow flag through the middle sector, and it's Sepala who is causing that one out again. It's fair play to Sepala for soldiering on, because there's a lot that wouldn't if they were in this sort of position. No safety car VSC so far in this race. We've been under green flag. There's Jacob, just looking to try and pile the pressure on Andrew. Andrew, of course, with no DRS. But the fact he's able to stay so consistently in front of Jacob means that he probably has a little bit of a pace advantage to him, as Dark is looking to attack Jacob as well, entering in towards turn number 2. The Alpha Terry just getting that a little bit closer and might potentially try something come towards the end of this stint. But we're coming nearly towards the halfway point. The halfway point, of course, will be halfway through the 17th lap of proceedings, so on lap 12, not far away from it. The race is being ran pretty quickly, but unfortunately there is not much action.
Yeah, it seems like it just settled into a routine, really. Benza, he's like, what I say on the stream, he is 3.2 seconds clear. He just doesn't have to worry about any overcuts or undercuts. He will be able to pit when he does feel like it. So I think he'll be very, very happy what he's doing. But the rest have to be careful with the pit strategy, because you don't know what could happen out of Hungary.
Yeah, undercuts and overcuts is going to be something considered by these guys, who... A race like this isn't enjoyable from a driver's perspective, because you have to run so on the limit just to try gain even a tenth of a second, and it's not an enjoyable one for them, as Benza leads by 3.3 seconds now. The Mercedes here of Jacob, you can just see him piling on the pressure on the Alfa Romeo, but not able to gain much from.
Yep, I'm back in now, so we should be okay. Hopefully I don't have any issues with it now.
Hopefully no more issues for Brendan, as Keke 0.5 of a second still behind Baki. As yeah, this one's not been a page turner, as they say so far. Keke just not able to make any inroads.
Yeah, Keke just not really. Yeah, can't really go anywhere. You'll see cars behind him, cars in front, and it's just not really working out. It seems like it's still the Andrew train at the moment, which would be thinking you want to bend the mistake somehow. You'll see him winning just makes it a lot nicer for him to move just to P2. But at the moment, still a good result.
Yeah, there's good results around the field here. P3, an excellent result for Jacob as well, as it would be, I believe, his first podium of the season. 15 out of the 36 Hungarian Grand Prix have been won from pole position. This one would also be won from pole position, but it won't be a Grand Slam or anything, as Andrew did lead the first 4 laps of this one, but then Benza did swiftly retake the lead. But a 4-second gap now for Benza between Benza and Andrew means Benza has certainly asserted his dominance here in Budapest. A Brazilian flag on show there, as there's a yellow flag in sector number 1. That is Sepala, who's gone round once again, and now he is well planted at the foot of the field. Simon made a lap 1 pit stop, so make sure to keep an eye on Simon in terms of strategy here. But so far, we are almost reaching a pit stop window, and hopefully that's when things start to get a little bit more exciting, as the strategy should play a big part in the deciding of this Grand Prix. You can just see all the cars at the front just weaving a little bit to try and knock some people out of slipstream. Oh, we have a pit stop. Ghost Kings is into the pit lane. This is a very early stop for the hard tyres, but he's in with 20 laps to go to try something different here in this Grand Prix, and I can respect that. Ghost Kings trying to liven this one up for us.
Yeah, he's in for hard. I think this would actually be a normal enough pit stop because there's the halfway points for so it would technically be 17.5, but basically laps you're 17 or 18. So you are just giving a little extra laps to the hard tyres. So this might not be the worst idea for Ghost Kings. Maybe if he gets these tyres warmed up quickly, it could turn out to be a good idea for Ghost Kings. So you might just need that kind of tyre warm-up advantage for a track like Hungary now to make passes. Because maybe the overcut technically works for immediate track position, but if you have the tyres warmed up, you might be able to make that pass you wouldn't be able to do normally.
But we'll see, does anyone dive into the pit lane this time? Not from the leading group. Oh, Keke is in. So the medium's obviously starting to wear off. Is Dark going to have a go on Jacob? No. No, he isn't. That's just the fact that Jacob is DRS and Slipstream as well. Jacob, though, running a bit lower on ERS, as there is a yellow flag, and that is for Royal Harvey through the final sector. One Alpine already out of this race. That's another spot for Ghost Kings that he doesn't need to overtake. Jacob, though, running low on ERS, and Ryu running significantly better. So the Alfa Romeo does have quick pace, just not quite on the level of Benzu, who's a 4.7 second lead here in Hungary.
Yep. It's a 4.7, yeah. So that is very, very impressive and not probably rare nowadays, because usually most people have done enough that they're just that close. But Benza, I guess this might be one of his nicest tracks. Or if it's just a case of others just don't have that pace. I'm not sure.
Well, oh, look at Jacob right on the back of the Alfa Romeo. Another yellow flag in sector number 1. You don't need me to tell you who it is, as Jacob just got real close to Anryu, heading through turn number 13. It didn't work out for him through there, but is he able to have a go in towards turn 1? No, Anryu just seems to have enough in that middle sector to just see him home down the main straight. We are almost at the halfway point. Halfway through this lap will be the halfway point of this Grand Prix, and then we should see things really spice up. Keke is running in 10th position, as, hold on a second, Keke's on a second set of mediums.
Huh?
Keke did definitely start on the mediums, or else I was hallucinating. But he's gone for a second set of the Pirelli mediums, which indicates that Keke is doing a 2-stop.
I'm not sure that's normal, and I have a feeling that might not have been a voluntary choice.
It may not have been.
Actually,
or else he's trying something completely different here, but we'll have to wait and see. He has to pit again, because you have to change your tyre compound. It is a regulation in Formula 1 and in PSGL. You do have to change your tyre compound. That goes without question. Apologies for the notification on your screen. Yes, that is someone inviting me to play F1 2020, so thank you very much for that. As Dark is into the pit lane, trying something different, trying the undercut on Jacob Konius and Anryu. That is Dark, who is in for Alpha Tauri. Let's see what tyres he goes for. I imagine it'll be a medium for him, as that could be a big blunder for Keke.
Yeah, but I have a feeling that wasn't voluntary, because
No, I would agree with you. I think it might be an incorrect tyre selection from his perspective. He just set the faster lap though, so something's worked out. As is he going to get past Dark here? He has got past Dark, so the undercut is actually working for Keke. Although the only problem is he has to pit again.
Yeah, so he'll have to try and just blitz his way through the field, up the field. But that would be difficult enough. So, obviously, Dark has mediums himself. Ghost Kings on the hard tyre. While Harvey others have to stop, so to get within in their pit window. and like well within, because then you'll have to be a couple of seconds up the road, still pushing on, and then maybe go for a soft stint and hoping that you can just catch people out. Even then, the softs might just die out a little.
Second and third is in Anriu and Jacob. It's a Red Bull 1-2 here in the Hungary ring. Damiano trying to pressure as well. This is where things get interesting then. Can Keke get in front of Anriu and Jacob? He rounds the final corner now. I would like to think that he would, as is Jacob actually going to get in front of Anriu here? No, Anriu out of the box in front. Here comes Keke though, down the main straight. He's going to be well in front of second and third place. Maybe this is a genius strategy from Keke. He's just going to hope there's a late safety car here in this race, because just look how this undercut's working on these tyres. He's already got 3 seconds on Anriu and Dark, and Anriu's made a mistake out of the pit lane. Anriu has made a mistake out of the pit lane because Dark, who he was ahead of, the AlphaTauri is now in front on the warmer tyres. The undercuts work perfectly for the AlphaTauri. Dark has got through, and actually, Brendan, I'm thinking of something here. Rain could be on the way if Keke's gone for a second medium. We could be getting rain.
Then why would everyone else have started on hard or being on mediums and then switch to hard though? Whether that's maybe they're not just want to take a risk, or
well, there was a 20% chance of rain at the start of the Grand Prix, according to the drivers, so that may be what Keke is gambling on. Sepala sets the fastest lap of the race. Benza is into the pit lane, and honestly, I think Keke could have a chance of taking the lead of this Grand Prix, which would be one of the most magical undercuts that you've seen in quite a long time of league racing. But Benza is out of the box now, as you can see. He's about to exit the pit lane. Here comes Keke. He comes thundering down. No, Benza's going to be perfectly fine here. This isn't even going to be a worry for him. He is still well in front, although his mediums are colder and Keke's certainly much warmer. The Williams will be absolutely fine here, and not a worry in the world for him, as Justbrand picks up a 3-second time penalty. Ghost Kings is now in 10th on these hard tyres. He was obviously the first to trigger this little pit window, and on the 20th lap here of the Hungarian Grand Prix, it's just the top 4 and Royal Harvey's down to 13th that need to make a planned pit stop. And Keke, of course, does need to come into the pits again, whether that is for a set of softs or a set of intermediates, depending on how the conditions here in Budapest play out. We'll just have to wait and see.
Okay, he's not far from being inside DRS, and if he got that, that would be a huge boost, because he would be able to start pulling himself away from some of these drivers. You see 1.1, 1.2. You just have to push it there. The DRS detection is at the braking zone, the last corner. However, it's just not close enough.
It's Damiano right close to Baki here, so he just has a bit of a slide through the first corner as Benza is past Justbrand. Justbrand serving a... Oh no, it wasn't serving a penalty, it was just a bit of lag as Anriu sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. He's looking to charge down on Dark and try and get past the AlphaTauri towards the end of this race. Now it's just your top 3 to pit, as Justbrand comes out in 10th, just ahead of LRB, who is in 11th. LRB looking to try and attack in towards turn number 2. He's not close enough, but maybe these colder tyres on the AlphaTauri might just struggle to heat up a bit, and maybe LRB's able to launch an attack heading through turn 5, in towards turn 4. Sepala is out of the Grand Prix. This would be a perfectly timed safety car for some. Side by side in towards turn number 5. LRB, oh, huge dive up the inside, and a right old wobble on the curb, and the McLaren just had to slip behind for now. There wasn't a gap there, and he's backed out cleverly.
Yeah, so I just recognise it's not on and just get out of it, because it's better to live to fight another day than to, well, try fight it at that time and just going away. And see Benza.
Oh, apologies, Brendan.
Oh no, sorry, I was just saying. It's Benza already pulling out that gap again, so I'd say it has been Benza's race. And he took the opportunity with both arms. And I was going to let you say what you were going to say there.
Yeah, no safety car for Sepala. The VSC or the safety car was not brought out, and Damiano is piling on the pressure on Baki, heading through the first sector. The Mercedes just looking to try and take the provisional lead here. These three, Baki, Damiano and Zane to be exact, are running long in this Grand Prix. They're going to just try something different to try get a few positions here in a very strategical based race. But heading through the middle sector now, the dark cloud starting to reform here over the Hungaroring, but that means nothing, as we saw at the start of this race. That means absolutely nothing, and we may not get any rain, or we may get loads of it. We have to just wait and see here. But Backy's still holding on strong. It seems like if a Red Bull leads this race, the Red Bull will have good pace, as Benza now 3.1 over Keke. I think we know who our winner's going to be.
Yeah, it seems fairly solidified unless there's a huge mistake from nowhere. Yeah. So, which, to be honest, it doesn't look like Bent is going to make that mistake.
Doesn't look like any of them are going to make too big a mistake, unless your name is Sapala and maybe Royal Harvey. The rest of them seem like they're all running super smooth here. The setups on these cars look amazing today, and I have to say there's not even many of them stepping out of line. It's a weird race, because usually you do see people making mistakes. As Justbrand, big dive up the inside of Ghost Kings, who's starting to struggle, I should say, on these hard tyres. Justbrand is up and into 9th, and LRB's going to potentially try something on the Aston Martin. Big dive up the inside, huge send from LRB. Has that one worked out on the Aston Martin? It absolutely has, and the man on the mediums is up to 10th position.
Yeah, and with penalty for Justbrand, it'll be up to 9th. So, it's just a move for LB, just to make sure that he didn't start losing Justbrand. But now, we'll see, he'll be able to be right in the back of Justbrand if he has the pace, and just ensure that there'll be an extra point or two.
Yeah, LOB up to 10th now. Still no movement in the pit lane from Baki, Damiano and Zane's crew. And it's starting to get a little bit dull over the Hungaroring. I'm not saying that rain is on the way, because obviously we're not quite sure ourselves. But it could certainly spring a surprise. And that might be why Keke has tried a different strategy. Go Simon around. Simon around at the back and into the wall, just as we go on board with the McLaren to check in on him. He has spun round and is into the wall, and not too sure if there's any damage on that McLaren. I think he's survived it all, but he's well down the back now. Himself and Royal Harvey are way off for things here in Hungary. Not even on the same lap anymore, unfortunately, as Baki heads into this middle sector. It's getting very dull here. Went to stick on the old floodlights, but it is getting very, very dull. Maybe this is what Baki, Damiano and Zane are holding out for. It could be either that or the Pirelli soft compound with tyres. But I gotta say, it seems like there's just something waiting to happen here in Hungary. We've been waiting 24 laps for something to happen. But if something big like rain was to happen, that might just make the wait well worth it.
Yeah, if we did get a rain, it would really spice things up. And then it would all of a sudden turn Keke from potentially having a big mistake to having a pretty much a master stroke, because if he was able to medium enter, it would really change things. Or even the late safety car would save Keke's race here.
Yeah, a late safety car would save Keke's race, where everybody pits for the softs, and Shazoo Simon has gone for the softs.
Actually,
but honestly, it's Keke. Keke's been overtaken by Dark. Dark has had a lunge down the inside. Keke tries the old switcheroo up the inside, but Dark has just got way better traction, just like he did on Anryu. Dark has taken the move in towards the second corner here in the Hungaroring, and he's now up to 5th, and now it's the potential 2 championship protagonist. Obviously, it's a real weird situation this season in PSGL F3. It's a very unusual one. So you can't. We can say they're championship protagonists. Not really from a physical perspective, from a mathematical perspective, potentially, but it's Keke and Anryu who will go battling. And honestly, I think if Keke was to get a good result out of this one, he needs the rain to start pouring now. Otherwise, a swap to the Inters may not even be worth it.
Yeah, and any swap to the Inters where it doesn't, their Inters are acting the best tyre is going to be a bad idea. So we'll need to be hoping for something, but the question is, these top 3 are clearly planning something. Whether that's a late switch to softs or hoping that the Inters do actually become the tyre. But even then, you're actually now risking losing places. because it's 1.6 to Benza. Then a couple of seconds dark, but
Yeah, they are losing big time. Obviously, Benza is the clear favourite for this one at this stage in the race. He's been unreal with his pace. But look, if it was one or maybe even two drivers, you'd say okay, they're just doing a gamble for softs. But the fact it's three and two of them were in high positions as it was makes me believe that there is something in this for these guys, and that if it was to start raining, it would put them in a very good position. If they're gambling for a safety car, that's a terrible idea considering we've not had one in 26 laps. But their tyres are not going to be feeling nice at all. They're going to be falling off as well. So that's another factor that we got to take in here, is the fact that these guys could cause a safety car themselves, because they're not going to have any tyres come a few laps time, and they are eventually going to have to pit to keep with regulation. Here comes Benza attacking the Ferrari of Zane. He's going to go past in towards turn number 1, late on the brakes. Zane isn't going to defend this too much, or so I think, and yeah, that'll prove to be correct, because Benza's just slid up the inside and has got past the Scuderia Ferrari. But heading in towards turn number 2 and 3, Benza now looking to try claw in on the Mercedes, and his teammate as Anryu is past Keke. Here we go side by side. Keke actually just defending the spot as they go side by side into turn number 3. Anryu gets the spot and up to 6th position. That was brave from the Alfa Romeo, and he is up and past Keke. Keke losing in that spot, and as I say, that Anryu runs wide across the curb and picks up a 3-second time penalty.
yeah, but he was very, very wide, so I'm not sure he removed that warning specifically. You have to be hoping that there was something he feels can be removed from him from earlier. Either way, though, like Ben's obviously passed one, and he's probably going to get past the next driver here. And I think Damiano has just a bit of ERS.
Well, I'd say he's going to get past both of them on the main straight, because obviously one's his teammate. He'll probably just let him through. I can't see why Baki would hold Benza back too much. It's not like they're in a championship battle or anything. It's just look at the extra traction Benza has on these mediums. Tucks back into the slipstream just to get that extra launch in the main straight, and he's up and past one Mercedes. Is he going to get past the second Red Bull in towards the first sector as well? I think Baki is just going to let him drive past, because he has an extreme pace advantage. He may as well just let him go past. Benza looking for the opportunity to get past his teammate. This would be a multi-21 situation, but obviously from an understandable perspective on this occasion, as Benza he's a pit stop ahead pretty much at this point, as heading in towards turn number 5. It's getting duller here, but it doesn't look like there's going to be any rain, and that is a real shot in the foot if you are Baki, Damiano, Zane or Keke, who all have to make one more pit stop here in this Hungarian Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's just, you need to come now in order to make an interswitch worth it. But it's just not really going to happen if, let's say, the rain starts to maybe space a little in lap 31, and then there's only by maybe lap 35 it becomes worth it to get the inters. But you're basically at that point, you can just manage it out in slicks. And just
try Lando Norris kind of thing. But may actually work, as I gotta say, Baki, I thought he would have just pulled over and let Benza through, but he isn't. And he's defending. Baki defending Benza here, as Baki definitely hasn't made a pit stop. No, he hasn't, as here comes Benza, his teammate, attacking. The two bulls are about to get feisty here in Hungary, despite one being on a completely different strategy to the other, and one having a huge pace advantage. Heading up the hill here, look at Baki trying to defend this one. Benza's got to try diving up the inside. No, he sits back. Benza has really got to do some risk analysis here, and see how much he wants to risk in getting past his teammate. But the two bulls obviously feel they both have an equal chance at a race win here in the Hungaroring. Heading through the middle sector, Baki still holding this position. I thought Benza would have been easily past his teammate, but obviously not working together are these two. And Baki still leads here on the 29th lap out of 35. As there we go, there's rain! The rain is coming here in Hungary, and Baki maybe does have a chance of winning this Grand Prix. If you look at the halo of Benza, you can see there's a few rain droplets here, as Benza already considering a switch to the Inters. This gamble for the intermediates has somehow worked out, and we may go on to those wet tyres. Zayn is instantly in. Zayn is instantly in. Here come the two bulls once again in towards turn number 1. Oh, look how close he's got to the pit wall. Backy forces Benza to the outside. That was very Michael Schumacher-esque from Backy. Benza tries the up and under. His tyres just have a huge pace advantage as Zayn already on the Inters. He was not hanging about the extra lap. Benza leads the Hungarian Grand Prix once again for the first time since his pit stop, but Red Bull might be on for a 1-2 here if this rain does get worse, but for now it's definitely slick conditions. Zayn way too early with the switch to the Inters, and he might just lose absolutely everything that he's fought for unless it starts pouring here on this lap, but this is controversial in PSGL F3.
Yeah, I just want Zayn's times here, because if he does manage to stick it at not lose much.
He's not doing a bad job, to be fair. If you compare him to Ghost Kings, he's only lost a couple of tenths. It's not Inters because the track there's not enough surface water, but it is definitely raining, as Benza's already dropped 1.2 seconds on Backy here, as you can just see the extreme pace advantage that one Red Bull on fresh tyres has over the other. It's starting to get a little bit heavier, as you could see Benza with a little bit of a slide as Backy dives into the pit lane, so does Damiano. To be fair, the decision is probably being made up for these guys themselves, as their tyres will be at huge risk of puncture territory. Royal Harvey's round in the middle sector, so that might be a representation of the rain getting slightly worse. There is 3 cars into the pit lane. It's Keke as well who's in, because obviously they have to stop, as Keke is into the pit lane. So is Damiano. He didn't have to stop, but obviously feels that an Inter switch is necessary. They'll come out of the pits in 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th respectively, as here comes Zayn coming down the main straight. He's going to get past Keke here, which would make you think maybe these Inters are better. Obviously there's not much heat up needed, as you are allowed tyre blankets on the intermediate compound of tyres, so there is not much heat up needed. As DRS has been disabled, this might be a very genius call from Backy, Damiano, Zayn and Keke to go for the long call.
Oh no, Keke's having trouble here, I think.
Oh, Keke, I think he's having some trouble. Simon has spun at the final corner and dives into the pit lane, as Keke, I think he could actually be an AI car. I think Keke, has he disconnected? He's not losing much time to Zayn. No, I think he's okay. Simon into the pit lane off 6 lap all softs. Royal Harvey's did the entire race on hards. He's now in for a set of Inters, and our race leader is in. Benza is into the pit lane, so is Dark. The rain is starting to pour. It is definitely intermediate conditions here in the Hungaroring. The late showers are causing some drama. LRB is in as well, and I imagine Ghost Kings will do the same thing. Ghost Kings dives into the pit lane. This is once again between both Red Bull Racing cars. Benza is coming to exit the pit lane now, but is the time back he gained on his extra lap on the Inters, is it worth enough? No, it is not. Benza's way out of the pit lane, but Red Bull are 1 and 2 here in the Hungarian Grand Prix. Oh, look at that between Dark and Damiano. Dark came almost in a straight line out of the pits to force Damiano the long way round, and that's worked out because Dark is now in 3rd. Anryu in 5th position. He's come out in 5th ahead of Zayn, who's in 6th. Keke in 7th. Jacob looking to try and attack Keke. Feels sorry for poor Jacob. He's dropped a lot in this race. He was running in 3rd, now running in 8th position, as the long game on the hards has worked out perfectly for lots of drivers here in Hungary, because Backy is now in 2nd position.
Yeah, it's just all of a sudden became very, very wet. And so Backy, it's worked out very well for him. Damiano also, I see, Dark I think has managed to get in between them despite to make the extra stop. I'd say Anryu though, he's probably going to fall down a bit, and neither him or Keke are really going to be making that much points this week. But it'd be worse for Anryu because that's an opportunity lost, really.
Well, Benza's still comfortably on course to win this Hungarian Grand Prix. There's not many laps left, and it seems like they've all filed into a single line once again. There wasn't anyone a bit ambitious with the strategy and staying out on the slicks. And look, that would have been a silly call because it's definitely rained heavy enough in the remaining few laps to warrant a set of the Inters. And if we hadn't had another 10 laps, dare I say, we may have got a set of wets into play, but we won't at this point because we only have 2 laps, or 3 laps I should say, to the finish. The remainder of 33, 34 and 35, and that will see us home here in Budapest. Is Keke able to maybe attack Zane? As I don't think Keke will take the official championship lead here this evening, but he will come closer to taking the official championship lead over the absent Tyne, who is not taking any further part here in this F3 championship due to him being promoted in F2, and he actually finished on the podium this evening, so a big shout out to Tyne, our former championship challenger. He still technically could win the championship here in PSGL F3 if everything went wrong for a lot of people, but that would be very hypothetical and not realistic in the slightest.
Yeah, let's see. The pace between difference between Benson and Baki is pretty much is none since the Inters game. Today Baki was banking on this coming a bit earlier, or maybe everyone else. Benson just had a bit more pace in the drive, but it's just kind of evened out slightly in the red. And say Andy's actually done a good job to get away from Zane. Now, but I'd say Keke will be trying to needs to make the move in Zane here if he wants to stay within that penalty window. It's just
look how slow Zane is through the corners. Keke looking to launch a real attack here, heading up the hill on the Scuderia Ferrari. Now he's just not quite got the run. Thought Zane was going to be real vulnerable. Heading through the right-handers, there's the yellow flag, that's Royal Harvey I believe, is Keke battling the car. The Finishman definitely has experience in these conditions, maybe from a real-life perspective as well, as the Williams just in 7th position, looking to try and get something from this. He may get Anryu on a penalty count, which would be a crucial result for the Williams in his ambition to be the champion this season. He thought he was down and out of it 2 rounds ago, but Dara and Tyne being promoted has brought a new chance for all here in this championship. We're going to head on to the final lap of proceedings here in the Hungaroring. The rain has not really sparked much, and it was just a few laps of uncertainty, but all has settled down once again here in Hungary. Benza starts the final lap here of the Hungarian Grand Prix at the Hungaroring. LRB intent looking to attack Jusbrand. He'll get him on a penalty count anyways, and it seems like anyone who's close enough for a battle is going to get them on penalties anyways, as Keke and Jacob going to finish in front of Anryu as it stands. Jusbrand, though, is 3.3 back and has a penalty of himself, so LRB will get that spot, but Jusbrand will still finish in the points as well, in a decent result for the Alpha Tauri Ghost Kings. Royal Harvey, Shizu Simon just well off the mark in this one, not even close to really competing for this Hungarian Grand Prix, or even points in this Hungarian Grand Prix. Benza rounding into the final chicanes, just being very cautious like Max Verstappen was in 2022, when the rain came down in the late phases. Wasn't as heavy as this, as this did warrant the Inters, that didn't on that day. But rounding through the very tricky right-hander that you can definitely make mistakes at for the final time, and then in towards turn number 12, another right-hander, the penultimate right-hander, and then the final left of turn 13. Benza will join that illustrious list of 5 maiden winners here in the Hungaroring. It was Damon Hill, Jenson Button, Fernando Alonso, Heikki Kovalainen and Esteban Ocon before him, but the maiden win here in PSGL F3 will go to Benza, who wins the Hungarian Grand Prix ahead of Baki in 2nd position. Red Bull take a 1-2 here in PSGL F3. It's not something they've done many a time here in PSGL. It's something we've seen way too often potentially in 2023, but Baki and Benza will be delighted with how that one's played out. They fought for it, but the strategy from Baki was superior to the rest of the field, and he comes home in 2nd, an excellent result. Keke will get 6th, Anryu falls to 8th, so Keke taking some crucial points in the championship. LRB gets 9th, Jusbrand in 10th, Ghost Kings 11th, and now we just wait for Shizu Simon to come home in 12th.
Well, I don't think we've really seen a performance just like Benza in qualifying and the race. He had pole for most of the session. Andrew had snatched it, but then Benza took it back, and the race pace from Benza, especially in the drive, was absolutely insane.
unreal. A different level, a class of his own even, to the rest of the field here in PSGL F3, and Benza takes a well-earned win for the outplayed racing team here in PSGL. But we'll get your podium now, and it will be Red Bull, who stand 1 and 2 here in Hungary.
Yeah, very nice. Good Red Bull 1-2. I see one case where the pace was made all difference, and the other where the strategy was at just brought Backy up to a couple of places from what was going to be an okay result. But then that strategy is just turned a P5, P6 to a P2, and that's the kind of things you have to be. You think, all right, may as well try this. Like, he doesn't have anything to lose, so it worked.
It did work, and Benza, who doesn't have much of a say in the championship, takes a well-earned win here in Hungary. And Backy, who has got himself potentially a few positions in the championship as well, honestly. Backy only had 23 points heading into this one. He's just picked himself up another 12, so that's an excellent job done from him. But Benza is your winner here in Hungary. Backy in second, followed by Dark in third, Damiano in fourth, Zane in fifth, followed by Keke in sixth, Jacob in seventh, and Ryu in eighth, LRB in ninth, followed by Just Brand, who picks up the final points in 10th, Ghost Kings 11th, Simon 12th, Royal Harvey in 13th. Your non-finishers were Sepala and Denzel. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Hungarian Grand Prix. Next week, we head for the penultimate round of the season in Saudi Arabia. Brendan, that should be a good one.
Yeah, it should be. Saudi Arabia will be a few opportunities to make some moves, especially into like turn 1, and you'll have a little more DRS straights as well. Obviously, especially going towards the last corner will be a good opportunity to make moves. So yeah, Saudi Arabia should be a fun race, and then obviously you'll have your finale, which I will just check there for.
It's in Brazil.
In Brazil, yeah. Sorry, it's in Brazil. So 2 good tracks to end the season.
Yeah, 2 very good tracks to end the season. Of course, you can catch them here at 8 p.m. and I believe we will have an actual proper championship season finale, because if Keke, well, I think we should have mathematically won. Whether it all works out from if the guy who's challenging Keke for the championship is actually here or not, we will have to wait and see. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us here this evening for PSGL F3. Make sure you like the YouTube channel and pop a subscription. Make sure to join us at 8 o'clock next week for that Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Should definitely be a good one. From myself, Evan and Brendan, stay safe, stay well, and we shall see you next time.
This broadcast was brought to you by GT Omega, proudly supporting PSGL.